I'm going to start streaming. But my mic and desktop audio is muted, and it will stay muted until Suna gets back and we're ready, but at least this will get the timer going on the stream. Hello. All right, so I've got the stream started. Everything we're muted, but there's a timer going for 5 minutes. So we got 5 minutes to start it. Oh, shh, hang on. We're not muted, but I don't know why. Shh, you guys get a little preview. Oh. All right, so you know what? The timer did not work, so you want to just get this ball rolling? Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here today, Suna, to talk to the community and discuss where the game is now compared to a year ago and where it's moving forward in the future. Yeah, we got a lot of questions going, so we might as well start it. So, all right. So the first question we have comes to us from Brody P, and he asks, "Will you ever put the game back into a pledge wave?" He says that a lot of people and himself want to support the game.
Yeah, so this is definitely something I want to do again because actually I've started to work with artists and so on, so I have some expense, and and so that was the goal of the previous backing wave, let's say. Now there is two things: is the state of the game right now, which I really broke a lot of stuff recently, and even more today because of the graphical updates. And also there is no tutorial zone and so on, so it's really not the game is not in a good state for a beginning player, I think. So it will have to wait that I actually push the new visual update, because also the block will change a bit and so on, so I don't want to release the game like this for the new player. So it will have to wait this, and also a big a big bug fix also, because a lot of things are broken basically. So maybe yeah, in the coming months, maybe March, something like that. So that's the idea. So, but thanks for your interest in the game.
All right. The next question comes to us from Exodus, and he wants to know if you'd be willing to discuss a new roadmap for the game. He says even though things may change and things may not, be final, he wants to know what are the next big steps for the game coming forward and what timeline we may be looking at for those big features.
So just the big overview. So I quickly talk about this in my monthly Kickstarter post, but it's a very rough and crude roadmap. But basically, so right now I'm working on the visual update. So we are changing the style of the game. And so it have been taking quite a lot of time. But I think we'll have something really great. Maybe I will talk a bit more about that in the following question. But yeah, so it's taking a bit of time. But I think in the next month I should be able to show you what it is, and maybe next month or a month after actually put it in the game with all the new block and so on. So that's the idea. And while we are I'm finishing that work, and the artist also will help me on that. I will also start working on gameplay, so that's really my big new goal. And so typically, yeah, I want to have a very basic gameplay loop. So it will be very boring at first, but I think it will be a great start. And then to add this on that. So this again will come a bit later, like maybe March, April, something like that. And But then, so yeah, so that's the roadmap on the short term at least.
All right. And the next question today comes from our good friend G Munga, and
Yeah.
he wants to know that after the style update you're working on, do you have any plans to do a large bug fix update in order to create a more up-to-date stable branch on Steam?
Yes. Yeah. So sorry for that, Jimanga. So I know he's a big builder. And yeah, so there have been quite a few issues. So I fixed a few of them, and but it needs a bit more polish in some areas. So yeah, definitely I will do a big bug fix. And so hopefully I can do that financing round I was talking before. So yes, for sure.
All right. And the next question comes from Celestin Chankla, and they would like to know how you have learned to create video games and the awesome skills you use in coding.
So I don't have any awesome skills. So it's mainly yeah, it's mainly never giving up, and always for continuing to work basically. But I learned video games so just really on my own. So I didn't have any previous experience in that. Uh, and yeah, I'm just kind of a technical geek guy. So I did a school in computer science and that kind of stuff. But it was not at all my work before I went full time on Skywanderers. So yeah, so I learned everything on my own. So there is like really tons of resources online on how to create games. So now there is a Unity engine and even Unreal engine. So you can really start small and do a few projects on your own, and make bigger stuff as you go. So yeah, it's really cool.
All right. So this next question comes from an anonymous user, and they said that using Unity instead of a custom engine means that you don't have access to low-level code, so scaling and optimization can be more difficult. Say what they want to know what problems Unity has caused for you, and what plans do you have to address these issues in your development process.
So yeah, so it's a good question, a quite technical question. So I mean, obviously, using an engine, so there is some restriction. Sometimes it's a bit painful because obviously Unity is acting as a black box. The doc is not always up to date, and sometimes you want a feature that is quite simple, but that for some reason is not there, and just a pain to work around or else. So it can be frustrating at time, but also it's really great to have something that is working. Where you don't need to do basically all the stuff that are really common to every engine and so on. So I think also as I'm working on this alone, that make the project possible basically. But yeah, obviously with if I had like unlimited budget and a bigger team and so on, especially for a game like Skywander, which is really uh, it's not like it's complex, but it's really custom and so on. So I had to redo a lot of system, like for example the collision system and so on. So So it's not that bad, honestly, because I can still optimize heavily some stuff. But yeah, it's not as great as making is your own engine, obviously.
Okay. So moving on, this is a separate category of questions focused around vehicles. And so the first one comes from Dustoff, and they would like to know if you plan to implement treads for tracked vehicles, such as tanks. And he brings up that a lot of sandbox games neglect this as an option for ground vehicles and are content with keeping it to just wheels or flight. And he says that it would be really nice to see tanks with working rollers and treads.
Yeah, so this is definitely something I will want to do, but it's not a commitment at all, and especially most likely it will come after early access. It's not really a priority thing, but definitely I think yeah, it could be a lot of fun, and yeah, if you want to make like very large vehicle and so on, so that's something I would like to work on one day. This with also train, yeah, monorail. That's something I would like to make definitely one day, but not most likely not before early access. Yeah.
Okay. The next question comes to us from Flyrockmaster, and he asks if you plan to give mechs the ability to transform into ships or other land vehicles.
So I think it should be possible. I mean, the thing is that you can put mech core and spaceship core into the same vehicle, but then you will have to switch control. Uh, so I don't know, Tom, if you confirm that or not. But yeah, I think you should already be possible in some way, but
I,
maybe not.
I
Yeah.
I believe it is possible in the game with by using the two separate cores. Is that something you plan to keep implemented moving forward, or is that something that's just due to it being a basic implementation right now?
No, yeah, I think I will keep it that way and this that way, and maybe I will add a block so you can switch automatically between the two controllers or something like that. We'll see. Yeah,
All right,
but
sounds
yeah,
good.
that's definitely cool to to have transformer and anything like that.
Okay. The next question comes to us from Nasi, and they asked, how do you plan on getting wheels to work with the terrain?
So the terrain will get a big refactor, and I will make things simpler and more like I will basically give up on the voxel look because for the art style, yeah, we want something a bit more hand painted and so on, and it will look much better, I think, for the terrain. So there won't be any voxel layer, so it will be much simpler to handle actually on the collision side. And yeah, and for the wheel, so I haven't any real started to look into that, but I know it's quite a standard problem in video game and so on. So I'm not worried too much about this. Just not need to find time and the right time to do it.
All right. And the next question comes to us from Solos, and they asked, will there be submarines and other water vehicles added into the game?
So I have no plan for that, but obviously at one point that's definitely something I would want to look into that. But yeah, again, post early access. Yeah, I mean it's really a space game. So the initial vision is a space game, but obviously when we add planet and so on, it might be interesting to have to be able to build something in the water. So it's always a possibility, but not at all on the short term.
All right. That moving on to another category, gameplay related questions. The first one we have comes from a fan favorite, Tomatart, and he asked, "When are you planning to start adding the gameplay elements, and what are some of the first gameplay elements you plan to add?"
So gameplay element. So I will start to work on it that month. because yeah, I still have a short list of things to do for the technique on the technical side on on the graphics, because it's actually quite quite heavy. But yeah, I will start working on it this month, and at first it will be extremely basic. So first it will be only about having the shipyard, which is a very central element in the gameplay, because this is where you will save your I mean save your stats. Is there where you will respawn if your ship get destroyed. It's there that you will build your ship, and you will have access to the store right here to add element and so on. So and then I will add obviously NPC ship, like any ship that you can blow up, and you will earn credits, and that will be it for the first core loop, let's say. So extremely basic. But then I will add more stuff like mission and mining and so on as I develop the game.
All right, sounds good. Uh, Moving on to the next question comes from Zach Zent, and he asks if you will be allowed to crouch in the game and go prone. He says that even though this is not a first person shooter, having the ability to go prone and to crouch is something players could use. And an example he lists is crawling through a one block space like ventilation.
Yeah, so that's a good question. I mean, actually, I had the crutch a long time ago, but I broke it and I never really fix it. The problem is that I think to make crutch really interesting from a building point of view, I need to have the player height under 1 meter, so you can go under just one block height, and you can see below also, and that kind of stuff. So I don't plan to make a prone. I think it looks a bit too much tactical FPS style, but yeah, definitely I will do a crouch again. But I need a big refactoring on the player control, on how you align to a ship, on how I give you 6 degree of freedom. I want to have that little spacesuit where you can actually control yourself in 3D like this, and so I will have a big refactoring on that at one point. Yes.
Okay, interesting. The next question comes from Exodus again, and he asked how you plan to implement mining and will there be a respawn timer for raw resources?
So not really sure. So the big specificity, I think, when it comes to mining, compare with the game compared to other game, let's say, is that the obviously the rings are basically huge, so you will never really run out of resources. So you could spend hours in the same spot and always find resources. I think so. The limiting factor, because I mean, otherwise it will be too easy. Will be more how to transport these resources, and the fact that you might get attacked obviously by pirate if you have a lot of resources on site, and that kind of stuff. So yeah, I think that will be more the axis I will need to check and be careful of when I come to develop that, rather than what to do to respawn resources, because yeah, the the rings are just too big, honestly.
All right. The next question comes from Stinger the Raven, and they asked how significantly will the new art style change from what we have now? And he would like to know if there's any examples you could give for this new art style. Now, you submitted a few uh, pictures to put up on the stream, so I'll
Yeah.
put those up now. And if you want to discuss the change you're looking forward to, go ahead.
Yeah, so that's yeah, that's a good question. So I have been doing just that for quite some time now, and so the art style. So we'll move away from the pixel art style what is called stylized PBR. So that's the technical term in the gaming industry, but it's basically like, let's say, Overwatch. Obviously, I am no Blizzard. I don't have their resources and their skill and so on, so it won't look as good as Overwatch. And also, as it's a voxel game, there is a lot more constraint to it. But the idea is that you get some non-realistical style, so it's not like AAA graphics. So with hand painted texture and so on, but you also get like real metal, and that's really the important thing. And that's, I think, the thing that you guys will really love is that the metal now will really look like a real metal, with some shininess depending on how you look at it. And I think it will really looks great in your build. And yeah, and I think you will be happy definitely with the new art style when it come. And that art style also will allow us to make much better character and a much better environment, basically. So the Taurus, I mean the space habitat, the asteroid and so on, they will look much better than they are right now. And also for example, the VFX, like the explosion and so on, when you do that style, it will be much easier to create. And so that's the idea. But overall, the feel itself won't be that different, in the sense that it will still be very simple. It will still be the amount of detail will still be quite low, because I think if I give you too much detail and so on, your ship won't look as good. Uh, and yeah, I think the star of the show is your ship, is what you are creating, and not really the texture or thing like that. So yeah, I'm sure you will like it. I can't wait to show you more. But yeah, I need to have more put into the game.
All right. The next question we have is another one from Exodus, and he wants to know about character customization. He says that with this new Overwatch art style that you're implementing, he wants to know how you will go about the customizing the character and to what depths you will be able to go in doing so.
Yeah. So yeah, good question also. So actually, I have an artist that started to work on that, and I started to work on customization. So typically, as you are mentioning Overwatch, so to show you the difference with Overwatch, so Overwatch character are 40,000 polys. Okay, so it's the complexity of the geometry, and my budget for the character is more like 5,000. So it's still a lot simpler compared to Overwatch. But I think compared to the current character, it will look much better. And regarding the customization, so what I want to do, so the body itself, I don't want to customize it. So it will be like Lego, so everybody will has the same body, except there will be a man and woman. And but the head itself, you will be able to customize it quite a bit. So for now, for example, I've started to work on the tech, and you can. Obviously, you will be able to choose your head, your eyes color, and your brows and that kind of stuff. But you are also able to lower and or raise, for example, the mouth height, the nose height, the eye height. So you can change quite a bit the feel of your character. And yeah, so that's there will be so very limited customization on the body type. You will be able, obviously, to choose the color of your suit and that kind of stuff. And then for the head, it will be quite advanced, actually.
All right, sounds very promising. The next question is from an anonymous user, and they want to know what your vision is for the final version of Skywanderers. Do you want it to be something more exploration and trade based, such as No Man's Sky, or something more survival based like Empyrean?
So I don't know Empyrean, so I could not say exactly. But to me, really, the final vision is really to have that spaceship fantasy. So it's like Star Wars, Star Trek. You have your ship. It's a very personal ship, obviously, because you build it and then you live adventure inside it. So the bulk of the adventure will be combat, I think. But obviously, if you want to do some more mining, more trading, and so on, I also want you to be able to do that, and then obviously you'll be able to play differently. So if you want to be more lawful and hunt a pirate, or if you want to be a pirate yourself, or that kind of stuff. So that's so I want to give yeah, that unique feel of, you know, having your own ship, and have fun with it. And so yeah, a bit of exploration, but compared to No Man's Sky, where I don't think you have a very strong emotional link with your spaceship in No Man's Sky. It's more about exploration and that kind of thing. So I don't know. I'd like to think it's a unique a unique vision. So I think yeah, the best is to wait, and you will see what I have in mind. But it will be really a lot about the progression. So it's not really survival, because you up to the point where you are just surviving, because you are just building the biggest or the more powerful ship basically. But it will be a lot about the progression. So really, like you start small with not a lot of credit and a small ship, and then little by little you earn bounty, you mine more rare material, you build a more powerful ship, and then yeah, you take on a more powerful enemy. So it will be more about the progression, I would say.
All right. Sounds really interesting. I really look forward to seeing where it all goes. Uh,
Thanks.
the next question is from Pelin Saft. I ruined that name. I apologize. Uh, they want to know, how will you handle mining and resource collection? They say that the ancient formula of shoot rocks to get rich has been used many times and feels almost like a cliche, and they want to know how you plan to shake that up.
So I mean, that's a very good remark, because I also agree that a lot of mechanics are done always in the same way, and but it's also very um, it's also, I have to be extremely careful with that, because I tend, that's one of my many default, but I tend to spend too much time on a given particular things to make it a bit unique, or I don't know, a bit better. And then if I do that with everything, basically the game will never be out. So I need to be extremely careful to what kind of mechanic I decide to spend my time on, and to make it really unique, and to make the game really stand out, and for all the rest, to keep it as simple and minimal as possible. Otherwise, the game will never be out. So for mining, I think it will be quite basic, unfortunately. But to me, it's what is more interesting in my vision is is basically how to detect the which ore you where you can mine, and so on. So it will be more like the scanning phase, to find like the most rare material, and so on. And then after that, what you do is the mining output. So I want to have like a small factory, and so on. So this, I'm not sure when I will do it, and even if I will do it before early access, we'll see. But yeah, so that will be my approach to mining. So mining itself quite basic, but it's more what come connected to it that will might be a bit more unique, let's say.
Okay. Moving forward, the next question comes from Tezzles, and they want to know if you are planning on adding things to do while traveling between long distances. They say if traveling takes a long time in Skywanders, it would be really fun to add something to do while waiting. Something simple like space chess or other mini games to play on your ship while traveling.
Yeah, so that's a good remark. So that's definitely something I think about, and something you know, being a big Star Wars fan and so on, something I would like to see. I'm not really sure, because first I need to, for the gameplay, and you know, the pace of the gameplay. Basically, I need to decide how traveling will work. Like inside the system, and when you change system and so on. So do I have people wait for a long time or not? So this is the kind of thing I will need to check. And then after, yeah, maybe add a mini game and so on. But again, it's not really fundamental. And at this point, it's important for me to not spend too much time on this kind of thing. But maybe at one point that could yeah, I could do this. We'll see.
Okay. Next from Stalopsa, again, probably destroyed the name. They want to know if you will be supporting other languages in the game, specifically Russian.
So I could not commit on Russian and so on. So yeah, as you know, my budget is quite limited, so it's an indie game and so on. So usually, what indie game dev are doing is just they have their community help them to translate the game, and so that's the way I want to do with you, because you guys are doing an amazing job with the Discord and so on. And so I think we could definitely find people to help us translate the game. And so yeah, I started to work a bit on the localization, but it needs more work and so on. But yeah, so I will most likely in the coming months I will come to you with when I have more content and things are more set in stone, let's say. I will come to you and looking for people to help us translate the game. But obviously, I cannot say. So if you are Russian and your English, you understand English well, and you want to help to translate the game, maybe you could help me do that. But yeah, so that's the idea.
The next question comes from Zales, and they want to know if there you plan to add a system to where a player can add their own custom sounds, blocks, screens, etc. They're basically talking about mod support. What's your plans there? How in depth will you allow?
So yes, so I think this is definitely something I would like to have because I think it's important. Now I'm not really sure when I will work on that, because uh, I mean, obviously first I need a game. I mean, if there is no game or the game is crappy, basically it means that there will be nobody to to make mod, and nobody will be interested. So first I need to get the game straight, and then think about modding support. And also I think it's something to have like for launch or a bit after launch when there is a lot of players. So right now it won't have that much chance, I think. But this is definitely something I keep in mind, and when I take some technical decisions, so how I could expose that to modding. So I can't really take any commitment at this point, but if yeah, this is definitely something I will do at one point also. The question will be more when. So most likely for post early access, unfortunately.
Okay. The next question we have comes from the goodest of boys, and
Of
they would
course.
like to know how you will play the game in your personal time when it releases in version 1.0. Where will you live? What will your career be? How will your play style be?
That's a good question. So I think I will do. I think I will be a bounty hunter. Basically, I will hunt down a pirate. Uh, I like to think I will be the bad guy and destroying, civilian ship and so on. But usually when I play video game, I tend myself being quite conservative and playing the good guy and the boring guy, let's say. But yeah, I think I will do that. I don't think I will try to create like a massive ship. I'm not into that much, but like a decent sized ship, but spend a lot of time on interior and that kind of stuff to make it really, cozy, and my own ship with my own little captain room and and that kind of stuff. So yeah, think that's what I will do.
All right. The next question comes from Tenno, and they want to know, will modders be able to create game mods like in Minecraft, such as Hunger Games, Skyblock, basically large adaptations of the game itself that create almost a separate game within the game?
Yeah, so this obviously is way more ambitious. So first, I think I will need to have to focus on basic modding. So like changing the texture, maybe adding some block and so on. And this seems a bit more ambitious, but why not again? But I don't take any commitment at this point because again, yeah, I need first to have a good full fledged game that people enjoy playing, so that they might want to start doing modding on it first. So we'll see, but definitely no commitment, unfortunately.
Okay. The next question is from Jaden, and they want to know, how will multiplayer work? How are you planning on running the game? Such as a one multiplayer server, I guess like EVE Online, or a series of mini servers user hosted, such as in Minecraft?
So yeah, it will definitely be several servers, so people will be hosting their own server. Multiplayer have been quite frustrating experience. So yeah, it's quite hard to do, and especially the thing is, Unity is basically switching their technology. So all the work I've done and so on, I will have to spend a lot of time to adapt it to the new way of doing and so on. So it's a bit frustrating to move in this sector, honestly. So at first, don't expect something too mature and very powerful. Unfortunately, I think the game will be good to just play with your friend and so on, but maybe not to have like huge server at first. But yeah, that's something I would like to obviously work more on the future. So yeah, more like Minecraft, because yeah, I don't have the bandwidth and the resources to do something more like a MMO. But yeah, so that's the idea.
All right. The next question comes from Zach Zent, and he would like to know how you are planning to develop NPC crew members. How advanced will they be? How will they interact with the player, the ship, a station, a planet, and even the galaxy as a whole?
So I'm not sure if he's mentioning like NPC crew of your inside your own ship,
Yes,
or
that's
like
what he means.
okay, because I mean ship, station, planet. Yeah, I mean, okay. I mean, if he's inside your ship, he's not really interacting with the galaxy or something like that. So
I think
that's why.
I think he means
B-
more on the lines of, would you be like, so there's the NPC uh, characters, right, on your ship.
Yeah,
Would you be able to tell them to do things in like interact with your ship, or then take them off the ship, or even just other NPCs that are on stations or planets, interact with
yeah.
them and have them interact with things on your behalf?
Okay, I see. Yeah, no. I mean, obviously, the sky is the is the limit. But if I work on NPC crew, it will be very basic at first. So more to give life to your ship and to boost your ship and do repair and that kind of stuff, I will say. And then for like maybe it's starting to look a bit like fleet management or stuff like that. So maybe that will come one day, but that won't be the priority at first. So it will everything will stay like local, like close to the player, to add more believability and just to make things more fun and lively, basically. Uh, but yeah, so I can't really commit again on anything like that. So yeah, so that's the idea.
That's a fair answer. The next question comes from Chapoud, and they ask, do you have any idea of the dangers of space that you plan to add, such as black holes, pulsars, supermassive stars, wormholes, and other things like that? He also mentions electromagnetic fields that damage systems.
Yes, exactly. So yeah, so that's a good question because yeah, the idea is that I don't spend that much time on the world itself and so on, the variety of the world, and I won't be able to spend that much time on it at first, unfortunately. But when I come to add like more variety regarding the star or what you can find inside the system, that's definitely something I want to do. And each time it will be adding a new kind of star or else, not for just the look, but also to add a gameplay element. So exactly like you said. So that's why I need to move first on my on the gameplay and have a loop and so on, and then see how I could spice it up a bit with the environment and to add potentially system that are a bit more dangerous with a pulsar or something like that, where you need to be a bit more equipped and or thing like that. And so yeah, so when I come to that part, I will definitely think on how I can tie that to the gameplay by adding yeah, a gameplay mechanic. But again, I'm not really sure when I will do that, so that's why I don't really commit on on the roadmap and so on, because unfortunately things are really you never sure on how fast you are gonna moving on some stuff. So as it's not really fundamental for the gameplay, I think it will be post early access. But yeah, definitely I will work on that one day.
All right. The next question is again from Zach Zent, and he asks how you plan to add cargo to the game. He wants to know if it'll be physical in the form of crates and chests, or if it will be something else, perhaps a digital system. And how and if it is physical, how will you move them between ships and stations and so forth?
So yes, so that's a very good question. So I'm not sure. I don't have the complete answer yet, but I wanted to have something interesting, and so typically, yeah, to have obviously all the things you can mine or you can trade and so on, they will have different value, but they will also have a different weight or size. So you might you will be able to take choice on how you design your ship and what kind of cargo you can hold basically to make it a bit interesting. So I think at first it will be just a chest, and you put everything in a chest, and you can change them. But the big thing is compared to Minecraft, where you can put an insane amount of of stuff in your chest. Here there will be like a size limit or a weight limit or something like that. So you can so if you decide, for example, to design a ship that can carry a lot of cargo, it will kind of be specialized to carry cargo and maybe not good to attack or stuff like that, or very slow, or I don't know. So that you can yeah. So it is more interesting to design and basically, and then to move them inside your ship, I'm not really sure. Yeah, so maybe at first it will be magic, like okay, it's sci-fi and it get teleported to your to the trade outpost, for example, if you want to sell something. But obviously, yeah, we'll see. Maybe I will have the player to build a dock and then have to connect the cargo, like the chest to a pipe system, so you can trade. I'm not really sure yet. We'll have to see if it's too cumbersome or not to make.
All right. So that concludes the gameplay portion of questions, and moving now to the category of planets. So the first question here comes from Zach Zent, and he wants to know what the current timetable for planet and Taurus improvements.
So Planet, the problem with Planet, so it won't be really in a long time, honestly, Planet. So it will stay like that. So what I might do is to add more variety, but it will still be Planet where you cannot really interact with them, unfortunately. So for the tourists, it will come at one point in the future. So first, I want to focus on the visual update on the blog, so you guys can start to create ships and so on. But then the tourists will get a visual improvement to match the art style, and it will be really great because you with the style I choose, you can do a lot more stuff, it should also be easier for me because it's more standard. You can find the texture pack, and I can ask artists to work on that. It's more straightforward compared to the blog. So yeah, tourists will come. Planet, not really, depending on how you look at it. Uh, but yeah, I don't have any timetable, but let's say 2-3 months maybe for the tourists.
Awesome. I know I look forward to that. The next question comes from a user named Zach Zent, and he wants to know that on the planets, we're talking about environments and biomes, what are your plans? Do you want to have planet types where there is a single or few environments, like
Yeah.
on perhaps Mars, where it's barren and it's just, fairly constant around the planet? Or more realistic planets such as Earth, where there are many biomes across the whole planet, or something else entirely.
So thanks, Zach, for for asking all the questions. So honestly, I'm not really sure, and it's not nothing is set in stone at that point, especially because the planet are going to take more time to come. But the good news is that the choice I made on the graphical side will allow me to maybe move a bit a bit faster on the planet side. Because yeah, I will basically drop completely the voxel look. So the technology will be easier and so on. So that's a good news. Now for the biome, I want something interesting. So I'm not really sure if I will go. I don't think I will go full realistic because maybe also it will be not. I don't think that's really what people expect. But maybe there will be some sort of variation for some planet. I think there will be planet like Mars and the Moon and things like that. But maybe, for example, I can add a bit of ice on the pole or that kind of stuff. But again, we'll see. Honestly, just too far away in the future, and that's exactly why I don't want to start working on planet, because even if the technology itself, you can say I can do it in a few months and so on, but really to make it interesting and meaningful for the player, I think it takes a lot of time. So yeah, so that's why you will have to wait quite a bit, unfortunately.
All right. So a quick disclaimer to the stream. Uh, a few of the next question cards are broken, and so I'm going to leave it on this question, and the next few won't have their questions on the screen. Just wanted to put that out there. But the next question for Sina, it is from Doeg, and he wants to know how detailed you plan to make planet surfaces. Will they be colonized, and will they have things such as cities or outposts? And will they be uninhabited, and so forth?
So again, a bit too early. I mean, yeah, it will really depend on how much on how well the game does, because for that I will start to need to have some help and so on. But yeah, I mean, theoretically, it's really possible to make a full Coruscant planet. I think in Star Citizen they show that, and yeah, it's definitely possible, but it will just take a lot of time to do it. So I don't want to commit at all on doing that kind of stuff. So at first, I think it will be quite basic, with maybe small city there, and that will be it. Uh, and that will not be like on every planet. I think that was one of the issue with No Man's Sky is they had like the same amount of 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 uh, of colonization on all the planet, and it looks a bit weird. So it have to depend, and we have to throw a bit of variation on that. But yeah, so more reasonable planet of space engineer,
Okay.
something like
Um,
yeah.
the next question is from an anonymous user, and what they've asked is, how will you approach buildings on the surfaces of planets and the torus? Like, how will they interact with the terrain, and will they have a blueprint system to where they could be saved and then respawned later? And on top of that system, are you planning to have randomly generated structures on these planets?
Yeah, so that's a big thing. So that's one of the big thing I will have to work on in the near future. So I will completely redo the way building work and station work and space station work. So basically, the thing is, what I noticed is that obviously people want to build a massive station and so on. And the problem is that with the current technology, with voxel, you are really limited because it's voxel are quite resource intensive in memory, and it takes a lot of time to build and so on. So what I will do is that I will change the technology. I will use something a bit like bricks, except that they will be very large, so you can build a massive station basically. And but the thing is, at first, it won't be exposed to the user. It will be more to me to have some master builder to make prefab, so I can create a station to for the gameplay. But the objective, obviously, is to have it sufficiently mature and to have enough rules and things like that to be able to expose it for the player, so the player can also build a station uh, when you want. But yeah, the idea is that with that system, because it will be very light in memory, we'll be able to have a lot more building. And so typically we have the torus, so which is quite large. So instead of having like three very small building on it, I can have a lot more and to have something a lot more sci-fi. So that's really the plan for building. Now it means that you won't be able to build directly like before and that kind of stuff. But I think at the end of the day, you will prefer the new system. And also, yeah, the thing is, uh, because yeah, sometimes you dock to the station and you go inside. So for the what is inside, it will be 100% voxel. So you guys can create the interior and so on. And it just me on the technical side, I won't obviously load what's inside the station. I will wait for the player to be inside so I can have something that works on the memory side. So that's the plan. So yeah, I will give more information later on when I start working on that. But so that's the idea with station.
All right. Um, Moving on to the next category, which focuses on building. The first question comes from Creeps, and he asked, will the original freeform mechanic ever be re-implemented into the game in any way?
So I don't think so. I mean, okay. So the thing with Freeform, I think that was really interesting because I did that a bit for not for fun, but I was curious, and actually, so it gave me the idea to create the current Freeform tool that we have. That is not as powerful, but that's actually a lot more optimized in terms of engine side, because the old Freeform was really hacky and not that great. And there is one thing, I mean, one mistake I did is to do too much of that crappy stuff to let creep into my code. And so that's why last year I spent a lot of time removing all that so I can actually move forward with the game. And that's a very important aspect that you, the player, don't really see. But so so the freeform mechanics, so I had that idea to make a prefab system, but honestly, I feel I spend way too much time now on the on the on the building side, and I need to move on the on the gameplay side. So I'm not sure when I will do that prefab system. That's definitely something I want to do one day, but yeah, not sure exactly where. And that prefab system will be really close to the old freeform you had, except it will be more powerful, basically, I think. So yeah. So that's the idea. So sorry, yeah, it's quite unfortunate. So I understand if people are frustrated with the way I'm moving forward, but I think it's very standard in game dev to you slash a lot of stuff because they're not really working or they're just too complicated or whatnot. And as basically I have player, I have tester, and I'm thankful for that. So it might generate a bit of frustration for you, but unfortunately, that's the kind of harsh reality of game development is that you have to get rid of stuff and change stuff and so on to move forward.
All right. And you actually answered a few upcoming questions in that question, but it's okay. We can revisit those. The next one comes from Exodus, and he wants to know what kind of size limitations you are planning for the game, and when can we expect to see those implemented?
So the size limitation. So yeah, so that's also something that might be frustrating for some people that like to build absolutely ridiculously massive ship. But yeah, so it's basically it's both a gameplay requirement and also a technical one. So I need to optimize the game and so on. And it's much easier when I know in the code what can be the maximum size for a ship. Uh, and so I can do plenty of optimization for memory, for lag, and also just to make the code a bit easier to manage. So that's something I will do, yeah, for also for the gameplay. So we'll have shipyard, and inside the shipyard, when you build a ship, you decide what kind of size you want to build, and the big thing is obviously creating a new big large ship will be more expensive. Uh, but also the large shipyard will be more rare into the world. So at first, when you start, you have small station a bit everywhere, so you're fine. You don't need to survive for that long. But then, as you progress into the game and you make larger ship, you will have to plan a bit more to make to have a bit more range and to be sure to so you can make it basically to the next large station. So that's a bit the idea behind that. And so there will be, yeah, size limitations on how big your ship can be, and then there will be also unfortunately limitation like on the number of children entity. There will be limitation on, for example, I did the stencil technology, and yeah, and then there is a maximum size you can get. So there will be you are you have like 5,000 stencil max or that kind of limit also, and most likely other kind of limit. So I think that will be also more better for the player to understand what he can build and how things are supposed to be big, and also so he can see if he's close or not to the limit and that kind of stuff. So that's the idea. But the main limit will be the ship size, knowing that it's really for gameplay and for survival, basically, or career. But I also want to work on a creative where you can build a ship of a larger size, and you don't really care about that stuff. But yeah, so we'll see. Because yeah, I understand people want to build like very large ship, but again, very large ship, like when you are in gameplay, it means that you have to earn the money and the material to construct each block. So obviously, it will take a lot more time to build a very large ship. And then also, because it's for gameplay, you need to build the internal and interior and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it will take more time. But also, if somebody just don't care with that and want to build a big ship in creative, I want them to be able to do so. So yeah. So when actually the target is quite yeah, the first gameplay release will have that shipyard tech with the the new ship category in it. So yeah, in the near short term, let's say.
Okay. The next question comes from Womble, and he asked about the plans for building stations. Now, you did go over this on the
Yes.
freeform mechanic, but if you wanted to elaborate further specifically regarding stations.
Yeah, so for station, so yeah, like I said, so I will completely redo the way station are working. So I can create really big station and I can also randomize them and so on. So not really sure when it will be. Most likely it will be very progressive. So I will have like very basic stuff at first, and then we'll add a bit more feature. And so not really sure 100% when it will come exactly. Maybe on the first release, maybe a bit after. But yeah, so so again, that's the plan. Like the old station will have that freeform brick. So the big difference with brick and block, obviously, is block. There is a voxel grid, and you can paint single, not the block itself, but just the voxel and that kind of stuff. So this won't be possible with the new technology. But that's a great thing for memory size, because it means that you will be able to make very large station without having to care with that. So that's the idea.
All right. Um, the next question comes from Zach Zent, and he wants to know what your plans for a copy paste system that does not involve a separate entity.
Yeah. So for copy paste, honestly, that's a very touchy. That's a very touchy subject, and honestly, I don't think I can add it. Unfortunately, maybe 2 years ago I would have said yes, but now I see. Uh, I have more experience, and I know that if I give you something like that, people will start to build. The big problem you have to understand with the brick system is that if I had just block, with block you can only put so much geometry in a place, basically. So you can put one block and that's it. So you cannot overuse block in that sense. But with brick, you can overuse brick, and then the game will lag on the collision side and on the rendering side, and it will be terrible. And so yeah, if I give you a copy paste, people will start to completely massively overuse brick, and then the game will basically not run well at all, and they will say it's not optimized and whatever. So um, it's unfortunately, because of the brick system, not something I can do. And yeah, so I guess that's not at all the kind of answer you guys were expecting. But yeah, that's the harsh life of game dev. So you have to when you think on a system, you have to think about the potential implication, and how it could yeah, it could break some stuff, basically.
All right. The next question we have comes from Michael, and he wants to know, do you plan on making even smaller bricks? He says this would up the level of detail tremendously.
So yeah, so that's again a bit like the old thing. So I think the current brick are small enough, honestly. I mean, if to build smaller thing, that will be to build a gun, for example, or a droid, or that kind of stuff. So that might be something where you want smaller brick. But for spaceship, I think they are honestly quite small. So I don't have any plan to make smaller brick. I think after it will be just too painful to build. And honestly, you don't really see them that much. Um, but maybe that will be different for creating guns, for example. Because for gun, I feel that the current 25 centimeter are maybe a bit too big. So we'll see on how yeah, what I will do for the gun. But for normal I don't know, Tom. What's your opinion? You that are building a lot more than than I am inside the game.
Well, okay, so personally, I think that the brick system, as it is now, is perfectly fine for like shipbuilding on like the scale that we've been experiencing for the last
Yeah,
couple of years. That works. And I mean, there's always, room to add more bricks for shapes and things of that nature, of course. But
yeah,
regarding the small stuff, I think you're hitting it right on the head for weapons because, that's something you want to fit, in like your character's hands, And so that would like if you could make that maybe even like if you pretend a brick is a quarter of a block, right?
yeah.
You could make something for the weapons that is a quarter of a brick. And so you could get some really nice looking weapons. And even at that level, I don't think it would add that much to the game, even because they're smaller, but you're using them in small amounts as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, yeah. So that's why for weapon, most likely we'll do something. I think for weapon it will be a completely different maybe part and so on. So at first I wanted the player to use like real break and so on, but maybe actually it will be really completely separated. So we'll see for weapon, but yeah, for weapon maybe, but for the game don't really. But for sure, yeah, I will add more brick and more small brick, but of the size of the current one. Um, so that's the idea.
All right. The
But
next,
for
oh,
the yeah, so yeah, just come back on that for yeah the to add more detail actually. So there is that new thing, the stencil, and actually, so on the graphical update, I've started to work on adding normal maps. So it's a bit complicated to explain, but this is a way where you can actually add a lot of detail on the way the surface to break a bit the surface. For example, if you want to do a panel line or something like that, you can do it with just a flat texture and not actual geometry. And so this is something I will give to the player also. So you will be able actually to add some micro detail. So for example, if you want to add a bolt or a small hole, small pattern or something like that to your surface to make it look better, this is something you will be able to do in the short term. So I hope you will enjoy that.
all right. Moving on to the next question. It comes from Common, and he wants to know if you intend to remove all child entity clipping from the game, or if this will be something that the user could enable or disable in their own settings.
No, yeah, it will be way too hard, unfortunately, to make it a setting. Just a setting base because it's really now into the code, and also you take some assumption that no, you don't have clipping, so you it means something for for example for system stacking or stuff like that. So yeah, I unfortunately don't have a plan to go backward. I mean to add the setting on that. So yeah, again, sorry, I understand that it's a bit frustrating for some people, but I think more what I want to do is to give more option for you um, to build nice shape and so on without having to resort to child entity. And yeah, and I will definitely add some small adjustments. So typically, a lot of people are saying, so now how we do for doors and things like that. So I will obviously I will add specific door block. So it will be easier for you to make that kind of standardized things. But yeah, so that's the idea.
All right. The next question comes from Tate, and they would like to know what block types you are planning to add for decorational purposes.
Yeah, so not really sure yet exactly because yeah, so since we are working on the visual update, there is a lot of blocks that will disappear, unfortunately, and for that reason, and also because uh, yeah, now I will also add things that match well with the gameplay and the way you craft block and so on. So I have to think about all of this. And also the way you will decorate also now is a lot with stencil and detail stencil, like I was mentioning. So we'll see where we stand on the decoration side. But yeah, not really sure. I think there is really two axes for decoration. First is just decoration block, like for the floor or stuff like that. And then there is also some small personal touch that you can add to your interior to make it like more more cozy or thing like that. So that might be more the direction I want to go. But yeah, we'll honestly we'll see. But if you have some idea and and no requirement and so on, you can always post something on the GitHub, and that will give me an idea on exactly what you guys want to have inside your ship.
All right, and just to bounce off the end right there, is the GitHub the location you want suggestions placed?
So that's a good question. The problem with the forum is it was always a bit old school, a bit slow, and so on. So I never, unfortunately, really spent time on the forum. And on the other side, I found GitHub to be very convenient. The problem is, yeah, it's a bit painful to have the suggestion and issue on the same place. So I'm not sure. Yeah, maybe I could make a separate GitHub or something like that. Because yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I think GitHub was really convenient and smooth, and but yeah, not really sure. I need to put more thinking into that, honestly.
All right, well, you can get back to me and the other mods, and then we can always relay that to the community when you get something figured out.
Yeah, yeah, because for sure in the coming months, once I start. Like I have my beginning of gameplay and the graphical updates. I will ask a lot more feedback and that kind of stuff on the gameplay itself and on the block you need and so on and so forth. So yeah.
All right. Okay, so the next question comes from Ultra, and they would like to know if there will be custom drone scripting of some sort
Hmm.
and just custom scripting for blocks in general.
So yeah, obviously that's something I think about it, and that's definitely something I want to work on again. So it's always the same question. I'm sorry, the same answer. Sorry. Like yeah, that's definitely something I want to do one day, but that's not high on the priority list because for now, what is important is to have the core gameplay. I think, but yes, definitely. So I'm not really sure what it would look like if it will be uh, what kind of scripting like LUA or something else. And also for drone, it's a bit more complex. But yeah, not at all on the short term, unfortunately. But one day, if you stick, if you follow the game for long enough, you might see it popping one day.
All right. Well, the next question comes to us from Nemesis, and they would like to know if there's any plans for clipping to be brought back for things like decorative blocks, but that you went over that.
Yeah, yeah. Sorry. Yeah. So I see a lot of people who are enjoying clipping. Yeah. So
Yeah.
that kind of suck, unfortunately. But I mean, honestly, yeah, it was looking a bit weird also because sometimes you had like Z fighting with two surface on the same plane that was looking weird and so on. So unfortunately, I don't have any plan to move back on that. But yeah.
All right. The next question comes from Spike, and they would like to know if you plan on adding things like cloth into the game. And they said specifically things for like capes on the player model or flags, or even just a cloth textured block?
So cloth block, I'm not really sure how it could look, but yeah, for player, maybe cape or something like that. We'll see at one point. I will do it only if it's easy to do, because again, I need to not spend too much time on that kind of detail at that point. But it's definitely something possible in Unity. So if it's easy to add, I will definitely consider it. And flag, yeah, flag actually is a good idea, maybe. But obviously, flag in space is not supposed to work exactly like that. But who cares? So yeah, we'll see.
All right. The next question is another one from Spike, and he asks if you will be adding prefabs, for example, something that you build and then can save as a prefab and then duplicate and place the structure on something else as many times as you want, or even just in a limited amount.
Yeah, so that's it's a bit like the question of Zaxxon. So on one side, I think that's very valid. If you use reasonably, that's nice. Like you save a turret, or maybe for players that don't like to build much, they can just pop a turret on their ship, and it's working like this. So one side, it's perfectly can be perfectly reasonable, but depending on how it's made, it could completely kill the game, and it could create situation that I have to address in the future. Because yeah, we could see people. The thing you have to know is that brick are not as optimized as block, and if you start to spawn like, hey, I'm gonna make a slightly better block for my corridor, for example, and then you use like 60 brick, and then you spawn that every meter in your ship, it will basically absolutely destroy the performance. uh, so that's very tricky, and that's the kind of decision I have to make all the time. um, so not really sure yet how I will do that, but yeah, so that's my that's yeah, unfortunately the reality of having a game where people create stuff inside is that you constantly have to think about how people could use it in a very extreme way, and what it will do, and so on. So
All right. All right. Well, moving forward to the next question is another one from Jamunga. And he asks, when you originally revealed Freeform, the new type, you mentioned plans to add a saved shape slash menu library. And he wants to know if you're still planning to add this and when we could expect to see that implemented.
yeah, so sorry. So yeah, there's definitely something I had, and I think that will be a wonderful tool. It's basically like modding, but inside the game. Uh, so you don't need to to have some tool and do that kind of stuff. So that's pretty sexy on paper, but the thing is, I really spend a lot of time on the building aspect, and yeah, at one point I need to move to the gameplay. So I still plan to do it one day, uh, because I think that could be really great for you guys. But most likely it will have to wait for me to have like the gameplay loop, and to have enough depth on the gameplay before I decide to spend my time on that. So no rough timeline, unfortunately. Not, yeah. Maybe before early access, we'll see if I think I can make it quickly enough. But so that's the idea.
All right. That was the last question for the building category. Moving forward into systems. So the first one comes from Surfluff, and they asked if you plan to add a cloaking device for ships, such as in Star Trek.
So yeah, so cloaking, yeah, so obviously that's something people want to see, and also I think that could be cool, but I need to be extremely careful on. Yeah, there is always cool idea and things that look cool in movie and so on, but you have to be careful on how you translate that into the game, and how it could be really interesting in terms of gameplay, let's say. And for cloaking, it's really not that trivial. So I need to think more on what it could be in terms of gameplay. So that's why first I will move on standard gameplay, let's say, and then once the base is there, basically we'll add more fancy stuff like cloaking and so on. But yeah, it could be possible, like cloaking. I mean, there is obviously the visual cloaking that looks cool. But from a gameplay perspective, I think what is more making sense is to have a cloaking device that basically perturbs the sensor, so you don't show up in the radar, or you cannot lock your missile or that kind of stuff. So we'll see exactly how it looks. But yeah, I think this is something I will work on for sure.
All right. The next question comes from Exodus, and he asked, will there be set locations for warping into a system, or will it be random based on the planet you clicked on?
So for warping, so inside the system, yeah. So I think you will be able to lock the planet, and no, say warping into a system. So from a system to another system. Was it the question? I think. Not sure. For warping into a system. Yeah, not really sure exactly. So for sure, what I will do is I will make it a bit more simple to do, and especially to drop down the warping. So if you select, for example, a station that is far away, you just warp to it, and then the system will automatically drop down, so you don't have to care that much. But for star to star, I think it will stay a bit like the same. So you arrive a bit in the middle of nowhere, close to the star, and then you have to start exploring the system.
All right. The next question here comes from Zerma, and he asks, what is your stance on having docking allow a sort of modular system for ships and stations? For instance, would it be possible to build parts of a ship or station and make them interchangeable? For example, detachable thrusters, reactors, rooms, factories, etc.
Yeah, so that's a good question. So I think for ship and so on, that will be too hard to make it really look to make it right. So for ship, yes, they will still be like separated ships, so that won't be really viable, honestly. For station, like I said, it will be completely different station building. So I need to think more about that and just actually start working on it. But for sure, station is going to be highly modular, because that's the goal of what I want to do. So I can generate them in the world and so on. And also for station, so at first, yeah, the first few release, the player won't be able to build themselves station, only the master builder for me to progress. But then I will add that into the game properly. And and what I want ideally is that to have people to be able to just select like module and build a station very quickly, or to actually start to make their own module. So they will make, basically they will make ideally, so things will likely change, but they will make the exterior, uh, and then they will start to build the interior also, if needed, for with a traditional voxel, and so they will be able to create module like that, and potentially sell that module on a store, or just keep them for themselves, and then build a station from that module. So that will be the idea for a station. So that's the thing, and I think like this it will be better for everybody, because I don't think not a lot of people want to build station. I think obviously people prefer to build ship at first. But when people do want to build station, they obviously they want to build like massive station and things that look that are really big. And yeah, with the current technology, you can't really build big station. I mean, I see sometimes people starting to build a massive 1 kilometer station and so on, but I guess they never really finish it. And even if they had the time to finish it, the game will not be able to to handle the load. Basically, I think so. So that's the idea.
All right. The next
But
question. Oh,
yeah, so
continue.
I will come back when I have more detail and progress more because yeah, also a lot of backer actually had a tier with station building, so that will change a bit, and so we'll see how we'll do. But yeah, um, it will change a bit, but I think it will still be very interesting because I think that means that actually you will be able to build a much larger station. So that's what it means basically, the new system. And especially, we have the space habitat, the Taurus, and you will be able to have like many different building and quite large building and on the Taurus, so that will be nicer, I think. So yeah, sorry, Tom.
Ah, no, it's fine. This is your show. Okay. The next question comes from Ultra, and he says that right now reactors are just blocks and capacitors, but he wants to know if there will be some form of better and more interesting reactor building, like in some Minecraft mods. He mentions big reactors and nuclear craft, but specifies them being less complex.
Yeah, so that's a good question. Actually, I made a forum post a long time ago because also I wanted to have something a bit more spicy and interesting. So I'm not sure when I will work on that because it's not really that necessary for the basic stuff. And also the thing is, I want to keep things really simple. So typically for reactor, I'm not sure if it's people are really that excited for reactor, but typically for a weapon, that's the same problem. And I think people are will be very interesting to have a really customizable weapon and that kind of stuff. So my approach with that will be to have something very basic, but that you can customize with add-on block, and so typically you just put the reactor or the weapon or whatever, and you already have something fully functioning. So for beginner and so on, it's really easy to discover and understand at first. But then if you want to customize, uh, if you want to customize your weapon, you can add on to it and change the characteristic of the add-on. So that will be my approach, I think. But then maybe I can add things a bit more complex, like higher level reactor or things like that, which is perfectly fine. I mean, you can add complexity if it's a, a gameplay mechanic that is to be discovered like after 50 hour of gameplay or something like that. So it's perfectly fine. We'll see.
All right, cool.
And I don't know nuclear craft and so on, but if you have example of mods and or game and so on, and want to send ID and so on, I'm definitely listening to to that.
All right, and those can be submitted in the regular submission area once we get that sorted out.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
okay. All
We'll
right.
see.
The next question comes from Abdar, and he wants to know if thrusters on child entities will contribute to the total thrust available to a ship.
Yes, I want to do that because I think that it's a legitimate build case when you want, for example, you want to do a gunship or something like that. So you want to place it on the rotating part of your ship and so on. So I think it's a legitimate use case. And if you want to make a turret and that kind of stuff, obviously, yeah, you will put some weapon block on that child entity. So so yeah, so that's something that will be possible. But then for trust, I don't want to make something realistic where you get, trust exactly on the point where you put the block, and so you have to be careful on where you put your engine and so on. So I don't want the player to have to care with that, because I want to go for the look. I think that's what I'm interested into. So I'm not really sure on how I will deal with that actually. But yeah, that would be possible for sure.
All right. That concludes the system section. So moving forward, the category is weapons. So
Yay.
the first question comes from Exodist again, and
Yeah.
he wants to know if you can go into detail on character armor and weapons.
So character armor. So armor will be very basic. Fortunately, yeah, it's not a medieval RPG or something like that. But definitely there will be armor. Uh, And for weapons, so I had the technology where you can craft your own weapon, and I think that's really what makes sense for a game like Skywanderers. So you can really create your own custom weapon, and the idea is that I will have some kind of bonus. And yeah, you will have to make a choice when creating your weapon. So typically, if you want to move fast and so on, you will have to create something small. But if you want to create something very powerful, maybe your aim will be slower, and you will move slower and that kind of stuff. So yeah, it will be depending on your play style and so on. So that's the idea for weapon at least. And character, so I don't want to spend too much time because it's too early. And but the idea with armor is I wanted to have like a mod system. So on your suit, like you put a mod, and depending on what you do, like if you build or if you mine or if you attack or whatnot, you will put different mod on your suit that will grant different capability. Uh, and yeah, so that was my approach, but it might change in the future. So that's why I didn't really talk about this at that point.
All right. The next question comes from Spike, and he wants to know if you are planning to add close quarters combat weapons to players and mechs.
So yeah, so for mech, so unfortunately, mech, I need to work more on that, and I mean, maybe not on the short term, but mech needs a big a big refresh. But I think especially with the new art style, mech are gonna look absolutely amazing. With real metal, with the stencil, detailed stencils. I think yeah, people are gonna be able to make really amazing looking mech. So that's definitely something I want to work more in the future. And yeah, and weapons also, to have a big weapon on mech. That's something that will be very desirable. So I will definitely give it a shot. And for weapons, so like I said, yeah, so that's something I want also to do. Um, so yeah, I plan I plan to add this thing at one point. Yes.
All right, nice. The next question comes to us from Connor, and he asks, in the previews, he's seen a variety of weapon types, but they want to know if there will be physical weapons such as cannons, machine guns, and other physical projectile weapons.
So yeah, so following the post I did like a long time ago on the weapon, uh, I wanted to have the very basic stuff for weapon. I wanted to have is a laser, which will be very uh, the very not excellent in anything, but medium in every aspect weapon. So for beginner and so on, the laser will be great. Then the beam. So the beam will have a lot of heating power, but not much hull destruction power. And then I wanted to have physical weapon with shell weapon. that add more damage to hull and that kind of stuff. And the thing I really wanted to do, and I think that would do completely sense for a game like Skywanderers, is to have the ability to craft your shell. So typically you take a different shell that there will be like piercing shell or shell that explodes on impact and that kind of stuff. And then you put something inside the shell. So I don't know, like fire damage or electrical damage or just explosion or stuff like that. So it's kind of funny to experiment different stuff and fire them and that kind of thing. And so you have to create like mini factory to create your weapon and so on. So that's really the idea. So yeah, laser beam. So physical shell based weapon, which could be just big cannon or maybe a machine gun. I will see, and maybe a railgun also to launch this projectile like very fast, and then also obviously missile. So yeah, so that's that's the plan. But that's really interesting because this is how I can spice up the thing regarding the gameplay, and since it will be really combat based and so on, I need to have an interesting combat part. So yeah.
All right. The next question comes from Noiserg, and they asked if exotic weapons such as noise cannons, asteroid launchers, and other sorts of unconventional weapons not frequently seen in science fiction will be considered, and alternatively, if players would be able to create mods for such weapons.
Yeah, so this I think I have to be careful to not spend too much time on that at first. At first, I think we need to have the basic, let's say. But then, yeah, maybe we could have something a bit more exotic like that at one point. Uh, and will player be able to create mods to make such weapon? Yeah, so maybe if there is modding, powerful modding, maybe to do that. But yeah, so not at first, unfortunately. But yeah, especially asteroid launcher and sounds like way more complex than that. And noise cannon, I'm not sure what it's supposed to be.
I don't
Uh,
know either.
or maybe something that shoot in the speaker of other player. I don't know. So yeah, not at first. Yeah, exotic weapon, but definitely at one point it could make sense. So most likely post early access again.
Maybe he's referencing that scene from the new Star Trek movie where they use the rock music to blow up the aliens.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was a
that's a noise
good
cannon.
scene. The
Okay.
Beastie Boy music.
Yep. Okay. The next question comes from an anonymous user, uh, and they asked what prefab weapons are. I'm sorry. They asked, are prefab weapons going to be replaced with multi-block weapons that the player can build themselves, something similar to how power and shields are built?
So for yeah, so like I said before, the approach will have to be main block plus add-on, because I think that's what makes sense. That's like easy for at first you just put the block and then you have fully functioning laser or whatnot. But then if you want to customize your weapon, so for example, you can take a barrel and you put it on the output of your laser, and then you have a laser can that have a longer range and maybe faster velocity, and so you get a sniping laser in a sense. Uh, but obviously, we said that that thing is overheating, so you cannot fire at fast or that kind of stuff. So we have to make it balanced, let's say. So yeah, that's the idea, to have a lot of add-on, and typically, so I started with that capacitor add-on, and that's something that you can add on on a reactor. You can add on the shield, but you will also be able to add it on a weapon. So typically, If you do that on a beam, the beam will be able to fire for a longer time. Or if you do put that on a laser, what I wanted to have is to have the laser to be to fire several, burst laser. So it's like you storing energy inside the capacitor, and then you can spend it faster. So that's the idea. So yeah, that's my approach. So not really like you need several blocks in order to have a functioning weapon, but more add-on based. With the exception maybe of the projectile, where I think you will have to put a magazine block or a crate block and maybe link it to your cannon or something like that. I guess that would make sense. So yeah, same for missile.
All right.
So that will be the approach. And yeah, so I made a post back in the day, but maybe I will once I start working on that, I will ask also ID for potential add-on block and that kind of stuff.
Cool. Yeah, very interesting. The next question comes to us from Drills007, and they asked if kinetic projectiles, such as bullets and shells, will be affected by gravity and physics.
So for be affected by gravity, so at first, yeah, I didn't really think about this. But if we are gonna to fight on Taurus and so on, I think it could definitely be interesting to have gravity affecting them. So I know I will do a refactoring to make them faster, and that's the kind of thing I could add quite easily, I think. So yeah, I want to say yes. At least I will definitely try to work on that. But yeah, I think if we have cannon and we are starting to play on the ground, it's always nice, to aim a bit higher, so it make it like more interesting. But in space, obviously, it's not making sense. So yeah, I will work on that.
All right. The next question comes to us from K-Dog, and they asked, how is armor and damage models going to be handled in the game?
So that's a big question. So at first, I really wanted to have it like voxel based. So you start to destroy your ship and so on. Now that I have like that new freeform technology, so things are a bit different. So I need to think to see what I can do on the technical side, but I still want to make it voxel based. Uh, but then yeah, we'll have to see first when I start to balance basically the gameplay. So it might change actually. So it might change. I want to make something interesting for the player and so on. So I might have like voxel based damage, but still to have like a global structural integrity score, or like if you have too much hull damage, your ship will basically be destroyed or something like that, so that you don't combat are not too long or ship are not starting looking too much like cheese cheese like this. So we'll see
All
if
right.
it was really the question.
Yeah, I mean, it's like you
And
said, it's that specifically is going to depend on a lot of other things. So,
yeah, so
yeah.
that's for damage. And armor, so yeah, so the thing is, people will build a hull block, and different hull block depending on the technology will have different crafting requirement, obviously, but also different characteristics, so different weight, different heating capability, and different HP, and different armor also, you can say. So yeah, I think you will add different the thing with hull. So right now the approach was there is different hull style, but it's more like visual feature, let's say. But now every block will kind of look the same. There will be a slight different color into the color of the block when it is not painted, and a slight hue also maybe in the reflection. Uh, but then when you paint, look the same, so you don't really care about that. But so just to make the building and the crafting more interesting. So depending on, if you want to make a very big and heavy ship with a lot of armor, you might go to something that weight more. But if you want to make a light corvette to escape, or because you want to trade high value good and escape enemy ship and that kind of stuff, you might want to make a very light and fast corvette. So you might choose a different hull, that kind of stuff. So that's the idea for armor. And the unfortunately the brick and the system and so on, they won't have any armor and they will be very weak. So
Okay. Um, that concludes the weapons category. And the next is logic. So the first question comes from Schlid, and he asked, when you began the logic refactor, you frequently mentioned a controller logic brick that would be useful for ABC, CBA sequencing and other circuits.
mm,
He says
okay.
he wants to know if this is still planned and if you could elaborate on its functionality.
Yes, so that's right. So it's still planned. Yeah, that's right. I didn't have time to work on it. I mean, yeah, still have a few things to do on the logic. So on the logic, I really have spent a lot of time on refactoring stuff and make it more easier for me to create with less bug and that kind of stuff, and so that it's easier for the player also to link stuff and so on. But now that work is mostly done, I still need to do some work on some system. Like I know that, yeah, I've done that for the new hinge, but I need to do the same for the slider and the other rotator block. But also, yeah, I will definitely create that controller. So not really sure when, but yeah, definitely before early access, or maybe in the coming months, I will do that block. It's mainly about the UI actually. If you want to know what is taking time, creating the UI is always a bit time consuming, but yeah, I will do it, and I think you guys will love it because it will make landing gear and that kind of stuff much easier to do. Like really trivial actually.
All right. The next question comes from Face Plus, and they asked, will there be some kind of programmable block in Skywanderers? And if so, what other blocks will there be to complement the programmable blocks? And they used the example of LCD screens.
So yeah, so again, that's something I want to we touch on that before. I want to work on, but not on the short term. Uh, and yeah, so yeah, I want to work on that, and also to have a customizable screen and or something that you can output obviously for your programmable block. Not sure exactly how it will look, if it will be a scripting language or something like that, but we'll yeah, if the game sell enough and I get to work on that for more time, that's definitely something I will add, uh, because that will make a lot of sense, but not on the short term, so not before early access.
All right. The next question comes from our resident logic master, Tolri,
Yeah.
and he asked if brick hinges are going to be removed or altered to match the block hinges, or will they stay as they are now?
Yeah, that's a good question for that little crappy brick. So I'm not sure what I will do with that brick. Uh, uh, at the very least, I will. I mean, I think I will just make it look better, because right now it it looks like a normal brick, so it's not really acceptable or something like that. So I will see, maybe if you have idea on what kind of shape, format, and that kind of stuff. What I can do with that brick, but yeah.
All right.
In terms of look, yeah,
No, go ahead.
make it smaller. I don't think. Yeah.
Well, just off the top of my head, uh, you know the little cylinder Lego brick? What if you changed it to be like that
For the brick
for the
to
brick
have a
hinge?
super small, yeah.
Yeah, I think that might be a little better.
Yeah, it's a completely different way of building. Like you need to have it on the side, depending on what you want to build. So yeah, I will put more thinking into that. What I could do, depending on what you want to build and that kind of stuff. So
All right. Well, Tollery comes in again for the next logic-related question, and he wants to know if there will be some kind of a logic lamp brick that changes color when it gets a logic input change. He says even if it's just black for 0 and white for 1. And then alternatively, if you will be able to turn animated screen bricks on and off with logic.
uh, yeah, so for light, it's really tricky. It's quite tricky because it's triggering a light. A light construction is actually takes a bit of time, so I need to think a bit more. Uh, yeah, I'm not really sure. I need to think to see if it won't lag too much or not. Knowing that as I move to the new graphical style, I had to do some work on the lighting, so things are a bit more complex now. So I need to re-examine all that and see if it can make sense. Again, like if you are doing that to three place in your ship, it's not a problem. But like always, if people start to have 100 light at the same time, the game will definitely die on a consistent basis. So yeah, it's always a bit complicated.
That's understandable. All right. That concludes the logic section for questions. And the next and final category is flora and fauna. So the first question comes from Ender the Dragon, and they asked if there are any plans for there to be alien life that isn't humanoid. For example, a space squid or even maybe a space dragon.
I don't have any plan right now. I mean, the phone for planets, let's say. Uh, I have a lot of idea to be honest, and a really cool idea and things that I want to try. But you will have to wait, and since it's like very very long term, I don't really want to talk that much about it at this point. But yeah, so that's the idea. Um, Space dragon. So I guess he's talking about alien life, but not really on planet, but more in space like this.
Uh,
Uh,
that does appear to be what the question asks, yes.
yeah. So yeah, not. I don't have any plans. Obviously, that would be very cool idea, and that's also the kind of sci-fi I like, and it could fit the theme. But it's more a question of bandwidth on my side, and also costs to make the life. And I think for now it makes more sense for me to spend that time on just the crew and the people and things like that, rather than on a massive space squid.
Fair enough. The next question comes to us from Tripod Dude, and they asked, how will species and races work in Skywanderers, and will the player be able to customize their race, such as like choosing from presets, or will they only be able to play as a human or humanoid character?
So the thing with species, so I think at first, yeah, it will be mostly humanoid. So it will still be alien. I still want to do alien. Um but like the body type will be like a humanoid, because I think otherwise it will be a nightmare to deal with the seat and things like that. Um, and the animation and whatnot. But the face will be very different compared to human. And yes, I want you to be able to choose your race basically. Um, so that's the idea. Yes. We'll see how many alien can I we can make at first. But yeah, I think that's really the kind of science fiction we want, and and something that is not really made in that much in other games. So I think people expect to have that.
All right. The next question, which is also the final question from the list, is from Zach Zent, and he asks, "What are your plans for animals and other non-sentient creatures spawning on planets and perhaps in space, such as space whales? Please."
So yeah, like I said, so I have so, but unfortunately not at all on the short term.
You completely
And
cut out
space,
there.
sorry.
You cut out right at the beginning of your answer.
Yeah. So that's a bit unfortunate, but I would like to work on all of these. All very good idea that could work beautifully in the game, but that's really yeah, man. I have so many important things to do, and if I start to work on all this stuff, the game will never be out, unfortunately. So I need to do the unsexy boring stuff first, and then see if I have some bandwidth to tackle some idea like that. But definitely, if I do something like that, it will just not be for the show or for the look, but I wanted to tie it to the gameplay in some sort. So yeah, maybe we'll see in the future, but that's unfortunately not really planned. And for planet, yes. So definitely, if I add planets, if I work on planet one day, I will have to have fauna and flora on it for sure. And I might add definitely some fauna, sorry, some flora, some plant, and so on that you can take and put inside your ship. And that's one thing. Also, one of the reasons I wanted to move to that new art style is because yeah, plants are gonna look much better right now, and so that's something I might actually add on the short term. But for animal and things like that, maybe not just yet.
All right, cool. Um, would you like to take some questions from the live chat?
Yeah, for sure, for sure. So
All
if you
right.
have some, hey Zach, I want to bang their mom, it ain't Freudian. Okay, so first comment I see.
All right. So, I don't know. Do you have the stream chat open yourself?
Yeah, I have the stream chat, so I don't know if you guys want to have so no planet. So yeah, Cripsy boy. So I definitely want to work on planet. The thing is, actually, it was one of the reason I started that game is that the technology behind the planet is not that complicated. Many games are doing that, and that's something I could work on if I wanted. The idea is that it won't add anything in terms of gameplay, and that people would say, oh, "Okay, that's cool. I can land on a planet." Great and so on, but you will be bored after 3 hours basically. So that won't be a very nice timing to spend a lot of time on planet right now. Uh, but that's definitely something I will work on once I have my core gameplay in place. Because yeah, that's not that impossible to do. Propitch, are you going to use the carving tool that you showed recently, perhaps at the magical? So yeah, exactly. So that's a good remark. So I was thinking maybe I can use that for damage and so on. I'm not really sure. I will try out different stuff. Not really sure also if I will give it to the player because there is some I need to see the potential impact. And also I have know that I have normal map thing, I will be able to trick the eyes a bit to make it look like there is, a recess panel line or that kind of stuff without actually having to touch the geometry. that's something we can do. So yeah, we'll see if I put it or not. Hey Gadi, so cool. So question: is the game eventually grow substantially? Will you consider opening an office somewhere and hire some people? So yeah, so exactly. So actually, I'm starting to. I will create a company soon, but that's just more for legal stuff and so on. I won't hire anybody just yet because I don't have the money. But yeah, the plan is to release the game on early access and hopefully to have some player and people that buy it, so I can actually hire a few people, so I can work on feature like faster, because yeah, that's quite an ambitious game, but yeah, if there is enough people, there is no reason for that not to happen. So yeah, that will be my dream plan, is to have a bit of money so I can have an office and hire people to create the game of my dream, basically. So I think you may have missed my question on weapon. Okay, good. So how do you plan on controlling them? Group, manual, or automatic AI? So I want both, actually. So there will be like a targeting tool, and so you can group several weapons under that targeting tool and have them control them at the same time, or to have automatic turret where basically you select a target, you assign a target, and let the turret automatically fire on your target. So that's the point. Lone Poopy question: what do you have planned for AI in PC character, and will they be able to fly draft craft? Yeah, so I will see how far I go for the NPC in the world. So definitely they will attack you. I want to have them to. I also want to have a lot of civilian ship, because I think that's great. So they might do something, and I'm not really sure if they will mine or do that kind of stuff. But definitely, I want to have like cargo, or I don't know, a transport ship, like transporting people or that kind of stuff. So we'll see how far I go into that. Yeah, when we'll get so from Tyree, when we'll get in-game chat for multiplayer. So yeah, multiplayer. Unfortunately, sorry for that. That's not something I have been able to work that much. Yeah, because I was busy on a lot of stuff, but also yeah, like I told you, I saw a few months ago that Unity wanted to switch, so I won't spend too much time on the technology that I know will be deprecated. So that's why I haven't worked much on it. But yeah, I need to do a big pass, and yes, of course, I will add chat and also dedicated server, hopefully. But the good news is that up until now, they didn't add any good solution for dedicated server, so you had to work around a bit. But now in their new technology, they are addressing that. So it's a bit early, but yeah, at one point I will add dedicated server. So okay, so like the Tom question, so with the Cripsy Boy also, will Glow Light Block make a return? And if so, will you make brick version of them? So yes, I mean I had more choice for Glow Block. Not sure when exactly. I just want to get the basic block with style and so on. But yeah, so I want to add that back. Will there be, so from Gravonzan, will there be partial failure state for equipment? Like as you take damage, some of ship system stop working or malfunction. So yeah, the idea is that when your system take a hit, it will either completely stop working or have a lower output. I'm not really sure 100%. So this is the kind of stuff I need to test actually when I have a core gameplay loop. So we'll see, but definitely yes. uh, I think system damage is going to be important because yeah, it's also you when you attack some ship, you decide what kind of strategy you have. So do you destroy the hull or do you target system? And so depending on that, you might want to build a different weapon and so on. So that would be important to have that in the game. Zaxant's question: how you decide how the resource I for this? Because I'm such a sucker to find name. I would definitely ask the community, and we'll see on the Discord and on the YouTube also. I will ask you for name for the for the mineral and the metal and so on. So yeah, so for sure, I will ask you. Will there be another financing round? So yes, I want to do financing round, but like I said, I think it was like the first question. The thing is, the state of the game right now is not good because I broke many stuff, and I'm also breaking stuff right now for the visual update. So it will have to wait a bit for me to have a more stable version. But as soon as I have a stable version, I will do a financing round. And also there is the fact that I'm not really supposed to. I mean, the Steam term and condition are a bit weird. Like, uh, I'm I don't have the right to sell the game if it's not on sale on the Steam platform, but I can do it if it's crowdfunding and so on. So it's I am a bit into a gray zone. So right now, so hopefully it's fine. Okay, so yeah, good question, Gwyn Dalmir. So for those that back at a higher level of the game, which includes submitting a build, do we need when do we need to start thinking about a build? So that's a very good question. So that's why I mentioned that in my Kickstarter post. So I'm really sorry it is taking that much time for me to give you the go to create your ship. But the idea is that I knew last year I had like big refactoring on the build system that will likely to break in a substantial percentage your ship. And now also I'm working on the visual update that will also change a lot the way ships are looking. Uh, but once that visual update is done, and once I start working on the gameplay loop, at least the basic one, you will be able to start working on your ship. And yeah, I will accept the submission and yeah. So, but as I'm breaking a lot of stuff right now, I think it would not have been great to have a ship with the whole system. So that's why I was asking you to hold on a bit. But yeah, in the coming months for sure, you will be able to have the final ship. And yes, yes, thanks for precising that Xerma. So yeah, I will contact you. So I have everybody address with Kickstarter. So I will ask you. I will contact you with the step on how we proceed for building a ship. Yeah, dedicated server. Yeah, so it would be nice, but have to. Yeah. So sorry, Lumino. So thanks. So yeah, he's my webmaster. So thanks for doing that. And I need to to renew the hosting. Yeah. I have so many things. I'm doing so many things right now with the artist and so on, and searching artists, and it takes a lot of time, and I forgot about the website. Okay, so for the thruster, so drills, are thruster going to be maintained? Will they get damage over time from use and have to be repaired from time to time? So I don't plan to have like just use damage. I don't think that's a good. I don't know. I don't think that's an interesting game mechanic. But since you will constantly be attacked and go to fight and so on, you will definitely have to repair your system and so on. So yeah. So you will definitely have to repair, but just from combat. Okay, so financing loan I just answered. Kryptonium. Any possibly an exosuit like power armor or something like that we can build, maybe use this micro brick. So not really sure. So for sure you can make small mech, but they will still look like not really look like exosuit. I mean, not like Iron Man in a sense, but you can make very very small mech. And the micro block will be first for weapon, I think, not really suit. So it's not really the plan. Apple or pumpkin pie? Apple pie, definitely. Pumpkin are banned in my house because my wife hate that. She buy the game broke, yeah, but that right now, I mean, the game is really broke, and there is the fact that it's it's relatively broke, and also the fact that I will broke it again, like because right now I will still remove some block and change block from because of the graphical update. So yeah, so there is some more break to be expected. Okay, is there any question? So from Notalek, the question: will the majority of objectives the game player made, or will there be objectives that the game provides? So I want to add mission. So at first it will be extremely basic, so more booty hunting contract, and you have to go there and kill that guy and that kind of stuff. To have some reward and things like that. But it's not a RPG or some stuff like that with a really deep quest and thing. But I want to have a small mission. So from Vampire Track, are there any survival technique in place and any future plans? So it's not really what I will focus on at first. It's not really survival in a sense that you start with nothing and you need to eat and that kind of stuff. It's more about gameplay progression. Like you start with a very small ship and a bit of money, and then you kill a smaller pirate, and then little by little you mine and build a bigger ship, let's say. So it's more that kind of progression I will have at first, and then one day when I have planet, maybe there will be a more traditional survival mechanic for the beginning of the game, but that's not on the short-term plan. Is there any plan for microsystem? So as many of small mech? Yeah, so I will brick size system, so brick size weapon, and so I think everything will come in two size. Um, so the block size and the brick size, and not three size. So sometimes I like small, medium, large, but I will focus just on brick and block size. And so yeah, there will be a smaller reactor and that kind of stuff. Okay, so I don't know. Maybe we'll stop there.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We've been going for just over 2 hours, so I'd say this is a fairly successful Q&A. Got a lot of questions across, a lot of
Yeah,
big
a
questions
lot
were
of
answered.
questions.
All right. Well,
Pitch is the next devlog a while out, or can we get a small hotfix for some bug and suggestions? So yeah, so the big problem, unfortunately, is that now I've changed a lot of stuff. I broke a lot of stuff in the game, and I don't really have branch or stuff like that because I'm working alone. So I can't do a small odd fix right now. Unfortunately, it will have to wait a bit, and it will have to wait basically the graphical update because I've changed too much stuff and I cannot really work back. Yeah, so that sucks. And yeah, next devlog, as soon as something to show, I will do a devlog. So yeah, I haven't done a devlog in a long time, so which sucks. But as soon as I have my new graphic, I will be able to do more regular video with ship review and things like that.
All right.
Okay, so yeah, thanks you guys. It was really cool to have you all.
Thank you.
And yeah, I think we should do that every 2 or 3 months maybe, and that will be cool. So yeah, stay tuned for the the new graphical update. Is gonna be a big one, and can't wait to show you the shiny the shiny new look once it's more complete, let's say.
All right. Well, thank you, Suna, for coming out. The community, I'm sure, greatly appreciates it. It's always a pleasure. And thank you to everyone for coming out to the stream. We hope to see you all in the Discord and back again for the next stream as it happens. And to wherever you are in the world, good morning, good evening, and good night.
Thanks.